What if you ate 5 eggs every single day for 30 days straight, or even for the rest of your life? Would it be a blessing for your health, or a hidden danger waiting to show up years later? The answer depends on one critical factor: the quality of the eggs. Because not all eggs are created equal, and the difference between cheap, mass-produced eggs and truly nutrient-rich ones could reshape your health in ways you'd never expect. Today, I'll break down the truth behind the labels, the hidden tricks used in the egg industry, and exactly what happens to your body when you commit to eating eggs daily. Hello, I'm Dr. Nana, and welcome back to Senior Health Boost. Today, we're diving deep into what 5 eggs a day can really do for you. Let's start with quality, because that's where most people get confused. You've probably seen cartons labeled caged, cage-free, free-range, pasture-raised, certified humane, organic, and even pasteurized. But what do those words actually mean? And which ones truly matter? Here's the reality. Caged eggs are the cheapest and the lowest standard. These chickens live in crowded, restrictive conditions, barely meeting the legal minimums. Their eggs reflect that poor quality, something I'd recommend avoiding completely. Cage-free sounds better, but it's only a small step up. The birds may be out of cages, but they're still crammed together indoors, often never seeing natural light. Free-range sounds the most appealing. Who wouldn't want to imagine chickens roaming freely on open fields? But here's where the biggest confusion lies. Legally, free-range only means the chickens have theoretical access to the outdoors. In practice, this could be a giant warehouse with thousands of birds, artificial lights, and a tiny little door at one end. Technically, they have access, but most will never step outside. That's why my minimum standard is pasture-raised. Now, pasture-raised on its own isn't a guarantee, but when combined with certifications like certified humane, it requires at least 108 square feet per bird. That means these hens actually live outdoors, forage for bugs and worms, roam freely, soak up sunlight, and move naturally. Just like humans, animals need activity, natural food, and sunlight to thrive, and when they do, their eggs reflect that health. So what about organic? That label doesn't refer to how the chickens live, but to what they're fed. Certified organic feed is free from pesticides and synthetic chemicals. But here's the catch. Sometimes, a non-organic pasture-raised egg can be healthier than an organic free-range one, because a bird raised outdoors will naturally have a better diet and lifestyle than one kept indoors eating organic feed. And then there's pasteurized. This simply means the eggs have been decontaminated, washed in hot water, and heated just enough to kill bacteria like salmonella, without cooking the egg. Some brands highlight this on their packaging, but the truth is, almost all eggs sold in U.S. stores are pasteurized by USDA requirement. So it's not the game changer some marketing makes it seem. About 10 to 15 years ago, when I first started talking about egg quality, I noticed something striking. The mass-produced eggs weren't just less nutritious, they were pale and tasteless. A weak, light-colored yolk often meant there weren't many nutrients inside. By contrast, pasture-raised eggs had yolks that were deep, rich, and golden orange, bursting with flavor and nutrition. But of course, the industry caught on. Once consumers learned to look for yolk color, producers found a way to cheat. They began adding synthetic pigments to chicken feed, producing darker yolks without improving the chicken's health. So now, yolk color alone is no longer a reliable sign of quality. You can find an egg with a deep golden yolk that was still mass-produced under poor conditions, carrying little flavor or nutrition. So what do you really get if you commit to eating 5 eggs a day? A powerhouse of nutrients. Eggs are loaded with essential micronutrients, DHA, and omega-3 fatty acid vital for brain function, vitamin D, calcium, and iron, supporting bone and immune health, vitamins A and E, powerful antioxidants that protect cells, almost all the B vitamins B2, B6, B12, niacin, folate, biotin, pantothenic acid essential for energy, metabolism, and nerve health, phosphorus, iodine, zinc, selenium, and choline, nutrients critical for thyroid function, cell membranes, and overall vitaliticolin, in particular, is fascinating. It used to be classified as a B vitamin, and even though your body can make a little on its own, it can't produce enough to keep you healthy. That's why getting it from food like eggs is so important. Impressive, right? But this is just the beginning. Because while eggs provide incredible nutrition, the way they're produced, processed, and even marketed can completely change how healthy they really are. In the last part, we saw how 5 eggs a day can give you a treasure chest of micronutrients. But here's something even more exciting. When those eggs are pasture-raised, the nutrient levels jump even higher. The minerals stay fairly consistent across different types of eggs, but when you look at the DHA, essential fatty acids, and fat-soluble vitamins, the difference can be 2 to 6 times greater in pasture-raised eggs. Imagine that. By simply choosing higher quality eggs, you could double, triple, or even more than triple the vitamins you're getting each day. That means eating 5 eggs daily could give you not just enough but in many cases more than 100% of the recommended daily allowance of these vital nutrients. What an incredible food source packed into such a simple package. Now, let's talk macronutrients. 5 eggs will give you around 350 calories. Now, I'm not a calorie counter by nature, but this number is important for perspective. 350 calories is not much, it's about 17% of the typical daily intake for most adults. But here's the magic. Within those calories, you're getting an extraordinary concentration of nutrients. You're not just filling your belly, you're fueling your body with high-value nutrition. And let's not forget the satisfaction factor. 5 eggs will leave you feeling full and satisfied. Have them for lunch, and they'll carry you all the way through to dinner with ease. That satiety is a game changer because when you feel full, you're less tempted to snack on empty, sugary calories later in the day. From those 5 eggs, you'll also get around 25 grams of fat, with about 7.5 grams of that being saturated fat. And here's where some people start to panic. You can almost picture it, someone buttering their toast, sipping their orange juice, suddenly stopping mid-bite when they hear that one egg contains about 60% of the daily recommended cholesterol allowance. Multiply that by 5 eggs, and you're talking about 925 milligrams of cholesterol. On paper, that sounds scary. But here's the catch: this fear around cholesterol is one of the biggest misconceptions in modern nutrition. And we'll come back to that in a moment. For now, let's move to protein, because this is where eggs truly shine. 5 eggs deliver about 30 grams of protein, roughly 60% of the average daily requirement. Now, your exact needs may vary depending on body size, activity level, and lifestyle, but 30 grams is a solid dose. But here's something that often gets overlooked. Not all proteins are created equal. You see, 30 grams of protein from one food may not have the same impact as 30 grams from another. Why? Because protein quality depends on the amino acid profile and how well your body can use it to build tissue. Let's break it down. Protein is unique because it provides the building blocks your body needs for structure. If you want to build muscle, skin, bone, hair, or nails, you need protein. Carbohydrates and fats can't do that. Protein also makes enzymes and certain hormones. But here's the key. Your body can only build efficiently when the amino acids in the protein source match what your body requires. Think of it like building a house. If you order a pile of lumber and it's top quality, straight, strong, and uniform, you can use nearly all of it to construct your home. Very little goes to waste. But if your lumber is warped, cracked, or poor quality, maybe only 15–20 of it can be used structurally, and the rest ends up as firewood. It still has energy value, but it's not building material. Protein works the same way. The better match the amino acids are to your body's needs, the higher the percentage that gets turned into actual tissue muscle fibers, enzymes, structural proteins. The rest is essentially burned for energy. So, let's compare sources. If you get 30 grams of protein from meat, say beef, chicken, or fish, about 1/3 of that becomes usable building blocks. The rest is burned as fuel. If you get it from soy, the efficiency drops to about 1/6. That means soy protein is only about half as effective as meat protein for building tissue. Even whey protein, which comes from dairy and is marketed heavily in powders and supplements, isn't as efficient as many assume. Once it's isolated and processed, your body can't use it as effectively as whole foods. And this is where eggs stand out. Whole eggs, not just the whites, are one of the most efficient protein sources you can eat. In fact, aside from mother's milk, which is designed specifically for infants, whole eggs are considered the gold standard of protein quality. Their amino acid profile is almost a perfect match for human needs, meaning a much higher percentage of egg protein gets converted into tissue and functional proteins, not just burned for energy. Now, here's the interesting twist. Most people think of egg protein as being in the egg white. And yes, the white is almost entirely water and protein, mostly albumin. That's why bodybuilders love it. You've probably seen or heard of people eating 5 whole eggs and then 20 additional egg whites, convinced they're maximizing their protein intake. But the truth? You're not getting nearly as much usable protein from those whites as you think. Without the yolk, the amino acid balance isn't as optimal. The yolk is where much of the nutrition and the balance that makes egg protein so effective actually resides. So while egg whites can have their place, relying on them alone for protein is like trying to build a house with half the materials missing. You'll get some structure, but it won't be nearly as strong or efficient as when you use the whole egg. This brings us back to the cholesterol debate. For decades, eggs were vilified because of their cholesterol content. But science is clear now. Dietary cholesterol doesn't impact blood cholesterol levels in the simple way we once thought. Your body regulates cholesterol production internally, and for most people, eating eggs doesn't drive up cholesterol to dangerous levels. In fact, for many, eggs can help improve the balance between good HDL cholesterol and bad LDL particles. So instead of fearing the cholesterol in eggs, we need to focus on their nutrient density and protein quality. Eggs provide the building blocks your body craves in one of the most efficient, bioavailable forms possible. In the last section, we compared different protein sources and saw how eggs deliver some of the most usable, body-building protein available. But now let's dig deeper, because what happens to that protein inside your body has huge implications for health. Here's the truth. Not all the protein you eat becomes muscle or tissue. Some of it is converted into glucose, raising blood sugar. Yes, even protein can stimulate insulin. This is why foods that aren't carbohydrates still show up on what's called the insulin index. It measures how much of a rise in insulin a food creates, depending on how much of its protein is used as building blocks versus how much is burned as glucose. Let's put that into perspective. If you eat 30 grams of protein from egg whites, only about 5 grams become usable tissue. The other 25 grams? They're converted into glucose, raising blood sugar. For a bodybuilder with good metabolic health, this can still be useful, because insulin is an anabolic, or storage, hormone. It helps shuttle fuel and amino acids into cells, supporting muscle growth. But what if you're insulin resistant or living with diabetes? Suddenly, that insulin spike is not your friend. In fact, it works directly against your goal of restoring insulin sensitivity. For these individuals, relying heavily on egg whites or whey or soy, which behave in similar ways, may not be the best approach. Now compare that with meat. Out of 30 grams of protein, about 10 become tissue and 20 are burned as energy. Better than egg whites, but still not as efficient as the gold standard, the whole egg. With whole eggs, about half the protein becomes usable building blocks. That's a much higher ratio than soy, whey, or even meat. So if you want the most efficient, tissue-building protein that doesn't create unnecessary glucose, whole eggs are one of your best options. That's why so many experts consider them nature's near-perfect protein source. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: cholesterol. If there's one reason people hesitate to eat eggs, it's this. For decades, we were told cholesterol was the villain behind heart disease. Eggs, being one of the richest natural sources of cholesterol, were painted as dangerous. Nutrition guidelines told us to limit dietary cholesterol to 300 milligrams per day. But here's the problem. 5 eggs contain more than 3 times that limit. No wonder so many people worry. They hear about the benefits of eggs, but the word cholesterol makes them picture clogged arteries and heart attacks. The truth? That 300 milligram limit was one of the most arbitrary numbers nutrition science ever produced. Why? Because your body makes cholesterol every single day anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams. If you eat less, your body simply makes more. If you eat more, your body makes less. The only time cholesterol production doesn't balance out is if something's wrong. For example, if the liver is severely damaged, or if toxins interfere with its function, cholesterol levels can drop abnormally low. Or, if you're on statin drugs, which block the liver's ability to make cholesterol, levels will fall sometimes too much. So dietary cholesterol, compared to what your body naturally produces, is practically insignificant. That's why modern research has largely abandoned the idea that cholesterol in food directly causes heart disease in most people. But is cholesterol essential? Here's where definitions matter. By strict definition, an essential nutrient is something the body cannot produce and must come entirely from the diet. Since we can manufacture cholesterol, it's not technically essential. But in a practical sense, cholesterol is absolutely vital. Without enough of it, your body can't function properly. Consider this. Your nervous system depends on cholesterol. The protective insulation around nerve fibers, the myelin sheath, is made primarily of cholesterol. Without it, nerve signals slow down or fail, impairing everything from muscle coordination to memory. Your cell membranes, all 40 trillion of them, also rely on cholesterol for flexibility and fluidity. These membranes handle billions of signals per second, determining how your cells communicate, absorb nutrients, and respond to the world around them. Their efficiency depends directly on cholesterol. So when you hear the word cholesterol, don't just think clogged arteries. Think about your brain, your nerves, your cells, all of which require cholesterol to keep you alive and functioning. In the last section, we discovered how cholesterol is far more than just a number on a blood test. It's a building block for nerves, cell membranes, and overall health. But its role doesn't stop there. Cholesterol is also the precursor for hormones, vitamin D, and bile salts. In other words, it's the raw material your body needs to create balance and function properly. Now let's move on to the second biggest fear factor surrounding eggs and animal products in general: saturated fat. If you eat 5 eggs a day, you're taking in about 7.5 grams of saturated fat. And if you follow official guidelines, that's already about 40% of your daily limit. The argument is that saturated fat raises total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol, which is then blamed for heart disease. But here's where things get interesting. Is that really the whole story? Not exactly. From my experience, it's a mixed bag. Roughly half the people who increase saturated fat intake will see total cholesterol and LDL rise, while the other half actually see those numbers go down. Either way, the body usually knows what it's doing. And most importantly, those numbers alone don't tell you whether your health is improving or declining. What matters is the type of cholesterol and the overall context. When people eat more real, satisfying foods, even with higher saturated fat, they tend to eat fewer processed carbohydrates. That shift lowers blood glucose, reduces A1C, and improves markers linked to diabetes and metabolic disease. Triglycerides usually go down as well. The most critical change is in the quality of cholesterol particles. LDL particle size often increases, making them less damaging, while HDL, the good cholesterol, rises. Those shifts point you away from heart disease, not toward it. So focusing only on total cholesterol or LDL without context misses the big picture. Now, let's talk about why eggs deserve special recognition for the brain. When you eat 5 pasture-raised eggs daily, eggs from hens that roam, forage, and get sunlight, you're getting about 100 milligrams of EPA and 600 milligrams of DHA. For most people, that's enough to cover the essential fatty acids they need. Interestingly, this ratio looks different compared to fish oil. Fish oil contains more EPA, which is great for general inflammation. Eggs, on the other hand, are richer in DHA, the form your brain needs most. DHA supports the frontal lobe, helping calm the brain, reduce anxiety, and improve focus. For some individuals, consistent DHA intake from eggs can be more effective than an antidepressant. The key difference? Antidepressants alter brain chemistry artificially, while DHA restores the natural function that should be there in the first place. And eggs don't stop with DHA. They're also one of the richest sources of choline, which your body uses to make acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter is vital for arousal, focus, and learning. It's central to neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections, adapt, and grow. If you're learning a new skill or rewiring old habits, acetylcholine is leading the way. Choline also supports REM sleep, the deep sleep stage linked to memory, repair, and waking up refreshed. Better sleep means sharper focus, steadier mood, and improved resilience throughout the day. Here's another fascinating point. There's a common genetic variant called mTHFR, methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. Don't let the long name scare you, just notice that it even sounds like a curse word. Around 30 to 40% of people worldwide carry this variant. So why does it matter? The mTHFR enzyme helps convert a byproduct called homocysteine into methionine, a sulfur-containing amino acid. Methionine is then used to make glutathione, one of the body's most powerful antioxidants. If the conversion doesn't work well, homocysteine builds up in the blood. High homocysteine is extremely inflammatory and is one of the strongest predictors of heart disease. It has also been linked to miscarriages and other health issues. The shocking part? Despite being so common and so easy to detect, this genetic issue is rarely tested for. Most people have no idea whether they carry the variant or whether homocysteine is quietly damaging their cardiovascular system. And yet, The solution can often be simple through targeted nutrients and lifestyle choices. Eggs, with their unique nutrient density, provide choline, B vitamins, and other compounds that support methylation and reduce homocysteine buildup. In this way, eggs aren't just innocent bystanders in the cholesterol debate, they may be part of the solution to one of the real root causes of heart disease. Earlier, we talked about the EMF4 gene variant and how it can quietly raise your homocysteine levels, increasing inflammation and risk of disease. The good news? Testing is straightforward. You can measure EMF4 directly, but in practice, measuring homocysteine is cheaper, easier, and ultimately more useful. Homocysteine itself is the real indicator of the problem. Now, here's something important to remember. Many labs will report that homocysteine levels up to 15 are normal. But that's misleading. Why? Because so many people today have elevated levels that the average has shifted. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's healthy. Ideally, you want your level under 7. Anything higher, and your risk of cardiovascular problems goes up dramatically. So what can you do if your numbers come back high? Thankfully, the solution is simple and highly effective. By adding certain B vitamins and methyl donors into your routine like B6, B9 folate, B12, and nutrients such as trimethylglycine or methylcobalamin for B12, you can often bring homocysteine back into a safe range very quickly. In fact, there are supplements specifically formulated with this exact combination, designed to handle the problem in just a single capsule. It's one of those cases where modern nutrition really does provide a clear, practical fix. Now, let's circle back to the egg itself. Because after everything we've explored, the proteins, the fats, the cholesterol, the brain-supporting nutrients, what's the final verdict? Simply put, the egg is fantastic. It's one of the most nutrient-dense, affordable, and versatile foods available. The only significant drawback, for a small percentage of people, eggs can trigger an allergy or sensitivity. Sadly, these issues have become more common, particularly among children and younger people. Part of this rise is thought to be linked to how certain vaccines are produced. Pathogens are sometimes grown on an egg-based substrate. Even though only trace amounts of egg protein may remain, when injected directly into the body, they can trigger stronger immune reactions in some individuals. But if you're not allergic or sensitive, then eggs remain one of the best foods you can include in your diet every single day if you like. The key is how you cook them. Let's talk about preparation. Minerals in eggs are pretty heat stable, but the essential fatty acids and delicate vitamins, especially DHA, vitamin A, and vitamin E, are far more sensitive to high temperatures. That's why gentle cooking is best. Here's my recommendation. Go for soft-boiled, poached, over easy, or lightly scrambled. These methods preserve flavor, texture, and nutrients. For example, when I make scrambled eggs, I'll start with a tablespoon of butter in the pan. Crack the eggs directly into the butter and gently move them around on low heat. At first, leave the yolks intact while the whites begin to set. Once the whites are nearly firm, gently break the yolks and stir everything together slowly, letting the mixture remain glossy and soft. Just before it fully hardens, take it off the heat. The result? Silky, rich scrambled eggs that burst with flavor. If you've only ever had scrambled eggs at a hotel buffet, you might think eggs are bland, rubbery, or tasteless. But that's not how they're meant to be. Overcooked eggs lose their subtle flavor, become tough, and sometimes even bounce right off your plate. Properly cooked eggs are creamy, fragrant, and deeply satisfying. And here's another point. You don't always need to eat breakfast just because it's breakfast time. If you practice intermittent fasting, you may choose to skip that early morning meal altogether. Then, when you're ready to break your fast, you can make eggs at home cooked gently, seasoned how you like, and sourced from high-quality pasture-raised hens. That way, every bite nourishes your body and fuels your health. So after looking at all the science, after breaking down every myth, what's the takeaway? Eggs aren't the villains they were once made out to be. They're heroes. Rich in vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, choline, DHA, and high-quality protein, eggs are a food that can support your heart, your brain, your metabolism, and your overall vitality. And remember, it's not just about the egg itself, it's about the quality. Pasture-raised, nutrient-dense eggs from healthy hens will always provide more benefits than mass-produced ones from overcrowded barns. Choosing wisely makes a big difference. So here's the bottom line. If you're looking for a food that delivers nearly everything your body needs affordably, accessibly, and deliciously the humble egg is one of the best choices you can make. Unless you have an allergy, you can confidently include eggs in your daily routine. Just cook them gently, enjoy them in different ways, and let them be a foundation for better health. If this deep dive into eggs surprised you, then you're going to love what's coming next. At Senior Health Boost, we're committed to uncovering the truth behind the foods you eat, showing you how the body really works, and giving you the knowledge to take back your health naturally. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, share it with a friend, and most importantly, subscribe to Senior Health Boost. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a life-saving video. Because here's the truth, real health doesn't come from fads or fear. It comes from understanding, from making informed choices, and from giving your body the fuel it was designed to thrive on. And together, we're going to keep exploring those truths one powerful step at a time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Nana, and I'll see you in the next video.